Welcome Pranakriya students and teachers. In this brief video, I will teach 5 techniques for opening the belly and energizing the belly. These techniques come from the Pranakriya and Kriya tradition. Some of them are traced all the way back to the ancient text. Others were just techniques that the tradition developed or picked up along the way. These techniques were usually practiced early in the morning before any asanas or pranayams. The intention being that these techniques would generate an effect in the belly, opening the belly, energizing the belly, that would make the pranayams and the asanas that followed more effective. They can actually be done anytime during the day. If your belly colon is not empty, they won't feel very good, so on an empty stomach. They can be done in any sequence. You can pick any one of the 5, or you can sequence them in any way that feels right to you. They should be safe for everyone to practice. Contraindications would be a sharp or burning pain. And if that were the case, I'd say stop immediately. Try again tomorrow. Try again the next day. You might find that the pain isn't there. That can happen sometimes. And of course, if it's persistent, check with your doctor. Don't do the techniques. With pregnancy, there's definitely a point where these techniques should not be practiced, and that will be different with the different techniques, and I will leave that to you. If there's a question there about yourself and pregnancy, check with a yoga therapist, a pregnancy consultant of some form that you trust. From this kneeling position, I'm going to bring my right hand and place it in front of me, palm up. I'll take my left hand and make a fist, set it on top. Now the left hand is our massage tool, and we have 3 different hand positions we can explore. I'll start with the least invasive, the easiest to begin, and that is with the knuckles lying down, finger knuckles pointing upward. And I'm going to take this package, my left hand resting on my right, and bring it down to my thigh, right where my thigh meets the hip. I'm going to lift my ribs, reach forward, and roll forward, let that fist sink into the belly. Now, when you're first starting to do this, the belly is very likely going to resist. There's going to be some tension. It's not going to feel very good. Don't push. Take slow, deep breaths. Invite your belly to relax. And there's a really good chance that within a short period of time, maybe just a couple of days or even a couple of minutes of practice, the belly will let the fist in. To deepen the massage, as I mentioned, we have different hand positions. This is the easiest, the simplest, with the finger knuckles up. I can take this fist and stand it up on end, and I get a little bit more penetration. The fist goes a little bit deeper. If I take my left hand and make it into a bird's beak with the fingers pointing up, I get the most interesting massage. The fingertips go very, very deep into the abdomen. Now in any position, any of these hand positions, you can take it farther by rolling the fist. So in with the knuckles up, I extend forward, come down over the fist. Once the fist is in, I roll it. And moving the fist, moving it in this direction, or this manner, deepens the massage. Standing on hand, roll this way, and with a bird's beak, of course, it's the most interesting. After 4 or 5 breaths of this massage, there'll be a point where it either feels like, yep, I've done what that was to accomplish, or that's enough for now, it feels right to move on. Then you can move to the next position. So, from the position with the hand right up against the hip, we bring the hands down about 3 to 5 inches towards the knee, so that when we lift up and come forward, the belly goes right under the ribs. So we start ascending colon, we start at the bottom, now we progress to the top. We want the fist to go under the ribs and on the inside of the floating ribs. If the fist bumps into the floating ribs, it won't feel very good. So in either hand position, hands about 3 to 5 inches away from the hip, lift up, extend forward, and the belly rolls over the fist. The fist sinks into the belly at the top of the ascending colon, just below the ribs. After massaging here, I rise up, switch hands. Now it's left hand flat, Right hand is my massage tool, knuckles up, fist up, or bird's beak. And here, we're going to reverse. We're going to start with the hands about 3 to 5 inches down from the hip. We massaged up the ascending colon. We want to massage down the descending colon. So I'm going to start out here, lift my ribs, and the fist goes right under the rib cage, right into the belly. I breathe deeply. I can roll the fist if that's something I want to explore. When I've benefited enough from this position, I rise up and then bring the hands right up against the hip. After massaging all 4 points, now I can take either hand, spread out the palm, and place it right over the thighs. The free hand becomes my massage tool. I want to position my hands so that when I lift up and come forward, the fist goes in right below the navel. Now, if the fist presses right into the navel, it may not feel very good because the lumbar spine is there. If we go down just a few inches below the navel, we reach a place where the descending colon goes down to the hip, goes over to the center, and then in the center it goes to the back of the body and then down to become the rectum. So there's a little hollow there just above the bladder, and that's where we want the fist to go. Sink in, breathe deeply, roll the fist if that's appropriate, and then when you feel that you've had enough, you can rise up and release. And that's abdominal massage. This technique is also from the tradition, not from the ancient text, and we call it simply stomach pumping. What I'm going to do in a moment is lie down on my back, and then I'm going to take a deep breath and then exhale completely. I'm going to squeeze out as much air as I can. And then holding my belly empty, I'm going to pull my belly up onto my ribs and then press it down and out. And pull it up onto my ribs and press it down and out. And I'm going to keep going slow and steady as many times as I can before I need to breathe. So I'm going to lie down on my back. Take a couple of easy breaths to relax. I'm going to take a full breath in, exhale completely, and then slowly and steadily pump my belly. I pump until there's just a little bit of urgency, a little bit of hunger for breath, and then release. And then for a few breaths, just receive the waves of energy that move through. Now, with this technique, it's important to keep the low back either against the mat or pressing down. If a student feels that there's any back strain, they could put a folded blanket under the lumbar spine to have something to press into if the belly doesn't reach the floor. Another technique would be to bend the knees. Now, the reason to hold the low back against the mat is this. There's a tendency for the spine to move as a way of the belly avoiding the stretch. So here's what that looks like. This is what to avoid. As you can see, my back is moving. There's not much movement in my belly at all. Keep the lumbar spine steady as you pump your belly. This technique can be practiced several times, 2 or 3. You could do it as many as 5 to 10. This technique to open and energize the belly comes from the tradition. It's described in the ancient text. is called Uddiyana Kriya. Now, Uddiyana Bandha is practiced with pranayama for the purpose, the goal of internalization of attention. It's Uddiyana Bandha mudra. When it's practiced to free the belly, Uddiyana Kriya. To practice this technique, I stand with my feet hip width or a little bit wider apart. If you're doing this first thing in the morning when you're a little maybe sluggish and stiff from sleeping, a good way to approach it is through sun breaths. That's how I'll be demonstrating. So I start by taking a few sun breaths. I exhale and then inhale, stretch my fingers, my arms, my ribs, shoulders, inhale up, and then exhale, bring the hands down the center, shoulders leading. So it's not like my hands are pushing as much as my shoulders are pulling my arms down. I'm going to do this 3 times. Now, after 3 times, on the 4th, I'm going to inhale all the way up. I'm going to come all the way down, squeezing all the breath out. I'm going to hold empty when I actually do it. I put my hands on my thighs, and then I'm going to lift my belly as high as I can up under my ribs, very much as we did when we were lying down doing the stomach pumping. Holding my belly up under my ribs, and then I'm going to lift my rib cage all the way with my hands, and then rise up to a vertical position, holding my belly up under my ribs. It looks like this. I hold again until there's a little bit of urgency, and then I release. I'm going to be very, very out of breath, and I'll use some sun breaths to stabilize. So when I'm practicing this in the morning, I might do 3 sun breaths in between each round. Watch again. Now I'll demonstrate that from the side. So inhale the arms out and up, stretch. The belly begins to stretch here as the arms rise up. Exhale, forward and down, squeeze all the breath out. You want to get your belly right up against your thighs, squeeze empty, and then bring your hands up, place them here. Notice my knees are a little bit bent. At this point, holding my breath out, I'll pull my belly up under my ribs as high as I can. And then holding that lift, I raise my ribs, I straighten my legs, I wait till there's a little urgency, and then I release. Again, this can be practiced 3 to 10 times with 2 or 3 sun breaths in between. You want to make sure that you're well oxygenated before you start the next round. If I start the next round when I'm breathing hard, that next round is going to be pretty short. This technique is from the tradition and is described in the ancient text. It's called Agni Sara. Agni means fire. It's a reference to the abdominal fire on one level, on another level, yoga fire, prana. Sara means to agitate, to fan, to stir up in some way. Now this has a lot in common with Uddiyana Kriya, which we just practiced. It starts out the same way. I'll inhale sun breaths up, exhale down, do this a couple of times to prepare, to energize. And then, turning sideways, I'm going to inhale all the way up, just as I did before. Exhale all the way down, squeeze empty. Bring my hands to my thighs, hold my belly out. Instead of coming all the way up, I'm going to just come up to here. And I'm going to do that just as I did with Uddiyana Kriya by lifting my belly. Now in this position, I'm breathing now. Normally I would be holding. I'm going to pull my belly up onto my ribs and then just drop it. Lift as high as I can and drop. From the side, it looks like this. When I need to breathe, inhale out and exhale, release. Now, a beginning level student, someone first learning the technique, would probably pump quite a bit slower than I did. Someone more experienced might pump faster. Now I'll demonstrate it from the front. So you pump until there's a little bit of urgency for breath, and then release with the inhale. The inhale, as it flows in, your body rises up, the arms rise overhead, and then the exhale eases right out. Now, a couple of alignment details. Again, feet hip width apart or just a little bit wider. When I inhale, my arms stretch, shoulder stretch. As I exhale, I come forward. And now here, very important, take body weight into your hands. If my waist muscles are holding me up, they're going to be less free. If my hands are just resting here, my body's doing the work, it's going to be, there's going to be a reduction in my movement. So again, the body hangs, the arms are doing the work of holding you up. It's very easy to want to see what's going on around your back. Very easy to arch. Both of these positions will restrict the belly's ability to move, so we're going to keep the back mostly straight, neutral position. It's very easy to find yourself way down here, and here to pump your belly, it has to jump up over your ribs. That's going to restrict the movement. So we want the back at about a 45-degree angle. Summing it all up, take body weight into the hands, hold the spine in a neutral position, neither flexed nor rounded, at about a 45-degree angle to the floor. This practice can be done 3 to 10 breaths, resting in between each one. Our final technique is described in the ancient text. It's called Nauli Kriya. The word Nauli, Sanskrit, means navel. Kriya means to move. It's the move the belly technique. I recommend that folks who want to practice Nauli work with Agni Sara every morning for at least a month. Agni Sara is a wonderful preparation for the belly. It frees it and gives us some measure of muscular control. Once you are comfortable with Agni Sara, you're ready to practice Nauli. In Nauli, the abdominal rectus muscle is contracted, and the transverse and oblique abdominals are contracted the other way. They're pulled in, so they separate from each other. The first stage of Nauli illustrates that. It looks like this. So the position is exactly the same as for Agni Sara. Arms come up, exhale forward and down, hands on the thighs, take body weight into the hands. Then I'm going to pull my abdominal muscles in and my abdominal rectus muscles out. And that's just something you explore. You move your hips, you move your shoulders, you shift your weight, and with time, eventually, it will pop up. You say, oh my God, what just happened? And you have to go back and figure out what you did to create the lift, or the separation of lift. Once you've found that, you can explore holding it for periods of time, 5, 10, 20 seconds to build a strength. And once you're comfortable separating the muscles, isolating the abdominal rectus muscle, and holding, now you're ready to move it from side to side. You can start out doing this just by moving your hips from side to side. That will cause the muscle to move. And then eventually you want to make the hips more and more still, and the muscle do more and more of the movement. So I'll illustrate that. once you become fairly, oh, need some breath there. Once you become comfortable taking it from side to side, now you can practice the full Nauli and swirl the belly. You can go in either direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. You can go slow, you can go off, you can go slow, you can go fast. Lots of variations on the theme. I hope you found this helpful. I enjoyed sharing with you. Appreciate your attention. Jai Bhagwan.